Living in Paradise, everyone. It's Deep Dive Zone, a Sonic review series for fans of all shapes and sizes. And guys, we are not living in paradise tonight because we have to talk about the story of a certain giant purple cat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Her cat was purple?
Oh god, what did you do to him?
Mine was just red. It's fine.
Oh, okay. I was a little worried.
Of course.
That's good.
I was thinking you, like, turned him into Garfield or something.
No, I just replaced it with, like, his error model.
Oh, nice.
Yes, so it's the man, it's the meme himself, Big the Cat, Fishing, Froggy, John St. John, and, well, really, if you've heard of this game, you've heard of Big the Cat. It's
infamous, that's what it is. Big is a funny lad. I don't know what they were thinking making a character like this, much less making them playable, even less so making them playable by fishing. Someone really liked fishing.
See, you're assuming they were thinking.
I think
you're right. They just did it without a thought.
They wanted
no thoughts, only actions.
They wanted SEGA Bass Fishing and the fishing pole controller to be a big thing on the Dreamcast, so they had to make a Sonic character to sell it.
Yeah, but SEGA Bass Fishing is actually fun.
Hold on a second. Can you play this without the controller, or did you need a controller to play Big's story originally?
I assume you can play with a regular controller.
You can play it with a regular controller. It's just that if you're playing a fishing game, Sega wants you to use the fishing pole controller.
Right.
I see. Interesting. I wonder if it would control better with that. Now I feel like I missed out on the definitive experience.
I don't think it's going to get much
it's
better.
a pretty safe bet that it won't.
And even if it was better, it probably still wouldn't be good.
Probably not, but I am curious because the fishing controls are very jank, so... would they be less jank?
That's one way to put it.
Well, so the only benefit I can see the Dreamcast fishing controller would have is that it had some rudimentary motion controls.
Interesting.
I don't know if that's really a benefit, though.
I mean, I don't even like Wii-era motion controllers, and those are a lot better than older ones.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
Well, in any case, Big the Cat... his actual story, I kind of like Big's actual plotline here, because it's kind of a joke.
Well, his story has, like, almost nothing to do with the overarching story.
Yeah.
He's just kind of there for most of his events.
I don't know if I made it clear, but the character is strange, and just because he, I don't know what he's doing. Like, why is he here? But
just hear the vibe.
What is the reason?
He's just there for the vibes.
He really is just there for the vibes.
I do like it, though. Honestly, Big is a treasure.
He is a pretty fun character.
That's the thing, is that I love everything about Big except playing as him.
Yeah,
that's fair. Like,
because we've got this whole setup where, you know, he has his sort of makeshift house in the Mystic Ruins jungle where you can see his fishing pole upgrade clipping through the bottom of his bed.
Yeah, why did they do that? That's one of the most confusing things. Why do you have the upgrade right there in the opening cutscene, and then Big just leaves without it? Why do you leave home without that? And then you have to come back later after the first stage. What's wrong?
I'd like to also point out that his bed is just a plank of wood.
Oh yeah, very comfy.
He doesn't need cushions. He is a cushion.
Or he is a cushion, but
he's Sonic Snorlax.
He basically is. Yeah,
I should have found a mod to replace my Snorlax.
That would be a good mod idea. So he has a pet frog that he loves to go fishing with, and it's named Froggy.
Can someone explain, because I didn't understand, why does this frog go up to God and then God is like, yes, and the gump?
So I think Sonic X actually did a better job explaining this, which is that Froggy basically swallows part of Chaos by mistake because he thinks it's water and wants to drink water.
I mean,
not the way it appears in the game.
In the game, it's kind of vague what happens.
In the game, it's almost like
does it on purpose.
Yeah, and I don't know why that is like that. And also, I guess it means that Chaos is something other than water?
I never thought Chaos was water.
Well, I thought Chaos was the nervous system that controls water.
Well, yeah, that makes the actual sense.
Oh. Well, but then how... It's obviously separate from the rest of the water in, like, the Chaos 4 fight. And it's colored differently. So I didn't think... Were you saying it just takes a portion of the water and then makes its body? Like, why didn't it hop in the water and then, like, annihilate you in the Chaos?
Well, that's what I thought, but obviously that's not correct, and
Yeah.
In any case, yeah, so Froggy gets Chaos's tail, and that makes him a target for Eggman, and it also makes him just act weird and run away. So Big has to go on a big silly quest to find him, but is so clumsy that he just keeps dropping him after every single level.
I thought it was that Chaos was possessing Froggy, but it wasn't like complete, and so like the two wills were battling against each other, and so Froggy is kind of crazy acting.
Oh,
That's also why
Froggy's
I think
will
Biggie
just
isn't
really
just a
strong, or
regular
Chaos
frog.
is really weak?
Yes, one of the two or both.
I like both of those.
Yeah, that's
Chaos
probably
is the lowest
something.
self-esteem god ever.
I mean, when we learn his backstory, that's kind of correct.
Yeah, true, actually.
But yeah, it is funny because the gag is that Big is this huge doofy guy that has absolutely nothing to do with the story, but he gets roped into the plot about mad scientists and gods of destruction just because of this coincidence, basically. But it does come with it the fact that you have to play as him, and you also have to hear his voice. And John St. John is a good actor. We've talked about this. Big's voice is grating.
Yes.
I can't stand it.
So I looked this up. Big is supposed to be 18. Why does he sound like a toddler?
He's like Lenny from Of Mice and Men. He's like...
Yeah, which makes me a little, I don't want to say uncomfortable, but kind of weirded out.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to make fun of him for it, because I don't like mocking people with cognitive disabilities, but it feels like the game is a little bit.
Yeah, no, I don't want to like mock Big because he sounds like that, or like what he's doing. I just want to point out that it's weird.
It never really bothered me. The voice is fine, and they're just a silly character because that's kind of the whole point.
I think if you were to say,
I don't think it's mocking. I
think if you were to say that he was
I think
just
it
like
just is unfortunately coincidental.
That's probably more realistic is the case.
Well, I think that if you were to portray him in dialogue, because the dialogue itself, like the writing is not particularly portraying that. I mean, he's not complicated, but he's not, literally like... but if he were portrayed more like a hick, like a yokel who's just kind of out of touch, right. I think that would probably do better. And they do more of that with sort of the modern interpretations of him in the comics and such.
That does make more sense. I think, or I would have gone also like the kind of surfer stoner kind characterization. I think with his theme that fits pretty well.
Big smoking weed, definitely, yeah.
Yeah, like I think those two are much better interpretations of the character.
Yeah, but in any case, there's something much worse than that, and it's called playing as him.
That is true.
Big's control is genuinely awful. He is slow, he is heavy, and he is too big to interact with most of the collision, which is built for 3-foot hedgehogs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I thought it was fine playing as him in the stages, moving around.
His running around isn't
throwing
terrible.
Any fishing poles.
I mean, it's not like it asks you to do anything major with his acrobatics.
I was fine with it in the stages, because the stages are relatively small.
Right.
Running around with him in the hub world was painful.
Well, that's terrible with every character.
I think this is when I started
with Big, it's even like slower and even more egregious.
This is where I got to the point where I started agreeing that the hub world is not great.
Yeah, well, so I think that's more of a problem of the hubs, personally. Yeah. I think in the stages...
but Big makes it obvious, like, even more obvious how flawed they actually are.
I'm saying it's not a problem of Big. I like that the characters actually play differently. The stages don't ask much of anything of you as far as maneuverability, so I think it's perfectly fine that he's clunky and not agile, because that's exactly what Big is. It plays like I would expect him to.
I mean, he is big.
He is a big boy.
Yeah, I guess, his movement, it doesn't feel good, but it's not, like, a big deal. They do have you, like, occasionally use his monster strength to lift a car or a rock.
And that was pretty good, lifting the car. Once I got it to finally work, because the pump did not want to come up, but...
Fair.
Funny, I got it on the first try, but...
I could restart the game, and then the prompt would come up.
You just kind of have to rub up against it and mash the X button, I think. It's not the most context sensitive. But of course,
it wasn't great. But it was fun lifting the car itself.
Before you lift the car, I like that Big Story starts somewhere in the middle. And you can see Tails and Sonic in Station Square. And it's really funny, because if you talk to Tails, he's like, we have to get back the Chaos Emerald from Eggman before he collects any more. And then Sonic is just like, Eggman!
Yeah. It's good. But once you get into Big's actual stages, the problems begin, because his real gameplay is fishing. He has to hook his friend Froggy, he has to hook his head on a sharp-ass fish hook and yank him out of the water.
I mean, you gotta do what you gotta do.
You don't gotta do that.
Yeah, I don't understand.
I mean, the game literally makes you, so I think you do.
Yeah.
I always was like, yikes. Like, Froggy, are you okay?
Maybe that's why Froggy's trying to run away.
I mean,
oh no.
Maybe this is indicative of Big's actual behavior that we don't get to see.
Oh no, and this is the part in every story where suddenly the character is revealed to be a psychopath.
See, this is why
Okay,
the
but
comics...
with Big, that's the highest chance of me being right.
This is why the comics always portray
There's
Big's
some evidence.
fishing lure as coiling around an object or character and him pulling it out instead of actually hooking it.
That makes more sense.
But yes, you hold the X button to aim your lure, and you cast it into the water, and you cross your fingers and hope that it's close enough to the frog, and sometimes you have to wait and try to move it to bait him, and sometimes it works, and then you have to pray that the frog goes for it, and then pray he doesn't let go before you reel in. It's a mess.
Do we want to talk about the one specific mod that you suggested we install, or not?
I was
keep
merciful.
Enable.
I was merciful because I said, worst case scenario, if you can't do the fishing, just get the mod that lets turns Froggy into the goal item from Gamma's story and just lets Big grab him to finish the stage.
And
I didn't need to use it, but I understand if everybody else needed to.
So for the first 2 stages, I accidentally used it because I didn't realize that mod made it so you can't fish Froggy up.
Fucking idiot.
So, that slight bit of extra topical content aside, yeah, I didn't have to use the mod because I actually 100% this game, and so I've become a god fisherman, reeling in all the heaviest fish, getting all the A missions. However, despite all that, having done that like years ago, and then coming back to the game, being like, big story, this'll be a breeze. I was wrong. I was wrong. So wrong. It was just as bad as the first time. Ah, man, I lost all my skills. It felt so bad, man.
Yeah, I think I got through the first 2 without the mod, and then after that I was like, fuck this isn't worth my time, I'm enabling the mod.
I think that's fair enough, to be honest.
Honestly, all the stages, they're not distinct. I don't get why, it's just Fish Froggy every single time. And I'm not even, he might be a little harder to reel in, but it's hard to tell because he's always terrible to reel in, so I can't tell if it's any different, really.
Yeah, I didn't enable the mod because I felt like it was getting harder. I enabled the mod because I didn't feel any satisfaction from doing it the first 2 times, and I figured I'd only feel less and less.
Well, I'm saying because you've basically experienced it.
Yeah.
It's weird.
I mean, the scenery of the stages were nice.
So yeah, I haven't talked to, I'm broad stroking here, but I actually did enjoy big stages a lot more than I expected to for the stage, not for the goal. I wish...
Which makes it feel like they knew that the goal was so flawed if they made the scenery of them so nice.
Here's the thing.
You're gonna be here being miserable for a while. Here's a pretty picture.
Here's the thing. We don't really need to go through individual stages, because Twinkle Park, Ice Cap, Hot Shelter, and Emerald Coast are Big's 4 stages. All of them take place in existing areas of the stages, except Emerald Coast, sort of, and Ice Cap, sort of, because they basically just take Sonic stages and add more pieces. But the weird thing is that all of the stages are bigger. They are all expanded in certain ways, and they all have a whole bunch of different pools to fish in. They all have a bunch of different little weird details, and some of them even have, environmental puzzles that you can solve, which is weird, because Froggy is always in the first pool you can find. Yeah. So I think that what Sid's saying is correct, is that the devs realized partway through, shit, this sucks. Let's just make finding Froggy easy, and then you just have to catch him.
So, first of all, I am talking about all the stages because of all that extra content that's in it. But second of all, Yes, thank you for highlighting that fact. It's absolutely infuriating. Why is Froggy literally right in front of where you start in every stage except Hot Shelter? Like, what's the point of making the whole experience? I guess maybe you're right. Maybe they just moved Froggy, which that's sad. It's a waste. What the heck? The whole point of the rest of the parts of the stages really only comes into play during all those extra missions, because the heavier fish that you need to catch are in the other pools that you have to find. So that's the actual purpose. There are also upgrades hidden in them sometimes, but it's a real shame that you just completely skip that, because then big story just becomes Froggy, 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 all the Froggies. You kind of don't even notice the rest because Froggy's right there. You're like, ah, time to do the thing. And that's what the experience is. I don't think it would be that much better, but I think it would be a bit better if you at least got to trek through stages as well. And you can, but I feel like a lot of players would just miss that.
Well, yeah, because fishing, even if this was the best fishing game ever, it's so antithetical to what you value in Sonic, or at least mandatory Sonic activities, that it's like, on principle, players are gonna not want to do it. You know, at least in Frontiers, it's optional, and also really easy.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. This is a good time to bring up my point that I had at the end, but I'll bring it now. Which is that I don't think anyone would mind big story if it was optional for the true ending. Like, lots of games have fishing mini games that are optional. It's kind of a joke how many games have them, actually. But
Right.
they're optional. So who decided, yes, to get the true ending, you must prove yourself as a master fisherman.
I mean, Twilight Princess, but yeah.
But yeah, because Big's gameplay is so drastically different than the rest of them. Like I said, I liked that it was different, but this is a little extreme. Yeah, so Twinkle Park doesn't have really a whole lot interesting to it, so I can just say that I have like a list of the flaws with fishing. So first of all, you mentioned that Froggy just completely ignores the lure a lot of the time. You just have to wait sitting there. I remember in Hot Shelter, it took like an hour. It was stupid.
Oh, God.
Because I had to hook him 4 times because the line kept randomly breaking, which is my next point. Why does the line randomly break? Not like, okay, I think it's hilarious, actually, that when you fail fishing, Big just dies, like, gives up on life, can't go any farther. Because they failed to reel in a fish.
See, that's not the line breaking, that's just Froggy arbitrarily letting go.
Are you sure? Really?
I mean, I don't know what the explanation... I don't think it's the line breaking, because I think that's why you lose a life, is because you have to go get a new one. But
I think Devin is right, because...
That makes sense, I suppose.
But yes, getting Froggy to bite, it's really weird, because there's like this state where he'll be on the lure, and it looks like he's biting it, but it won't say bite on the screen.
Yes.
And during that moment, I don't know if there's like a button you're supposed to press. I always press like down and X because I think that works.
Yeah, that seemed to work for me.
But I don't know if that's actually real or if it's like, you know, oh, you press down and B to catch the Pokemon better.
No, it's down 100%. Yeah, no, that's true. And I guess it is him letting go. That makes sense, having to replace the lure. Okay, that explains something. So yeah, that's one problem. Another problem is aesthetically, this is actually really cool that they suddenly add in a whole bunch of fish to the pools, especially in Emerald Coast. They just go wild. There's like there are even little fish you can't even catch in that. It actually looks really pretty, but there's a problem with having the extra fish in the pools, which is that these things, for some reason, Froggy, like literally swim right through the line, won't notice it, completely oblivious, more oblivious than Big. But the other fish can see it from like 10 miles away. I can't tell you how many times I'm like sitting there watching Froggy swim in circles, and the other fish comes out of nowhere. It's like, nom, yummy. What? I didn't even know you were there.
The fish can like hook them in.
And so the other fish just get in your way, and you can let go of the line without losing the lure if you want to. By the way, there's no explanation of that in the game. You have to hold the 2 camera buttons to do it. I had to look that up. Why is it not in the tutorial?
Here's a question. Why don't the camera buttons do other things when your lure is in? Because it's not like you can rotate the camera during that. That would improve a lot.
That would be really nice if you didn't have to just look at the floor of the seabed or whatever and not even see what's going on. But so you can do that, but then the fish might just come back. So you kind of are forced to get rid of the other fish, which makes the stages even longer. But you don't have to if you're lucky. So it's not like, it wasn't an intentional requirement, it's just the game being stupid. Froggy should have been isolated in their pools. That would have improved a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm going to strangle whoever had the idea that the fish can just, in the middle of when you're reeling in, suddenly swim like 10 meters away and you can't do anything about it just to make it longer. Why?
Yeah.
Why is that a thing? No. It feels so bad because psychologically it's like, oh, I'm losing progress, even though I don't know how it works. Is it random? Is it required for a certain amount? Like, I don't know. The thing is, the fishing doesn't make a whole lot of sense, and there's just a lot of weird quirks that make it even worse. Like, if it was just, slow, and then you have to be careful how you're reeling in and not overdo the meter, that would be fine. But they have all these other weird things that all piled together make it just that much worse.
Yeah, you pretty much got it. The only things that, I mean, and these are not even very good for mitigating it, is that Big is unique in that he has a bunch of upgrades, but they're all optional. There's like 5 or 6 bigger lures hidden throughout the hub worlds that I didn't bother to get because why the hell would I? I don't know if it's those or the power rod that make it easier to reel in fish.
Most of Big's upgrades actually are pointless unless you're going for the missions. Obviously, the flotation device is essential, and that's why you can't miss it. Or can you miss? I don't know.
You can just walk past it and go in dice cap.
But there's the extended cast, which you're always going to be standing right next to where Froggy is anyway, so that's really not very helpful. The lures don't make it easier to catch fish because that would be too nice.
Oh, they just make it so that bigger fish go for it, right?
Yes, exactly. So purely if you're going for the extra missions, which do not do that unless you're committed, by the way. I have to tell you, even when I actually got good at fishing, it was painful as heck. Because when you catch a fish, it tells you the weight of the fish, right? You probably noticed that. It's just for score, except when you're trying to go for the A missions. And then you have to catch a fish of a certain weight. But surprise, fish that look exactly the same are not necessarily the same weight. And you may have noticed, the game does not tell you the weight of the fish until you catch it. So it's an RNG fest where you just catch the fish that can be the heaviest over and over and over and over and over and over until it just happens to be heavy enough. And then you have to go back and catch Froggy and pray you don't screw it up and succeed the mission. It's not good.
I am very glad I didn't try to 100% the game for this series.
Yeah, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, it's a next level of terrible. That said, when you do try to go for the big fish, as I said, you do get to experience the other bits of the stages. And as I said, I do want to talk about that. Ice Cap is probably my favorite stage for exploration. There's an entire, underwater labyrinth. It's awesome. And with Big, you have the flotation device, so you can actually swim up and down freely. And they added a whole bunch of extra scenery, as you said. There's
dinosaur bones.
Yeah, giant dinosaur bones under the water. It's awesome. And you have to go up and down and kind of explore all over the place. It's really neat, but as we said, completely optional. Which maybe that makes it a little sweeter, I suppose, when you go and explore it. And there is an upgrade down there to find, which is some tangible reward, even though it's useless if you're not 100%ing, I suppose. Also, for some reason, there are robotic fish, which is a really nice touch. I like that. That's fun. But let's see, Emerald Coast, as we talked about, or as I talked about. I've been talking a lot. I really like Big Stage. I want to give them credit where there is. It looks nice, and there is a little underwater cavern that you can find, and it's a neat little place.
Yeah, I would take a vacation at Emerald Coast. It's kind of a Caribbean beach sort of thing.
Yeah, it's very cozy. Definitely my favorite of Big Stages aesthetically. Interestingly, I had to double check this because I'm like, wait. Because all of Sonic Adventure's music is just grounded in my brain, so I don't even know where anything plays. But Big's version of Emerald Coast actually has exclusive music to it, which is surprising. Usually, it reuses music.
Yeah, I love that track. It's a very sort of calming... I'm trying to describe the guitar. It's like warbly almost.
It's kind of a quirky little tune, but it's cozy.
Yeah.
And then Hot Shelter is a close second place. I don't like it quite as much as Ice Cap exploration-wise, but it's actually, there's a lot of interesting stuff. First of all, it's the only stage that actually makes you move around at all to find Froggy, because there's a short section through a hallway you have to go through.
Which is basically just Amy's section.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's exactly the same or not, but it's the same area, obviously. So that's kind of neat because it forces you to play as Big a little bit, which honestly I think it's hilarious that they decided to give Big platforming, and for some reason his fishing hole can just bash in badniks. That's amazing.
I like the cutscene right before Hot Shelter because, you get done with Emerald Coast, and then Gamma just runs by real fast, and suddenly the frog is gone.
Yeah, it just steals him right from under his nose. And it's funny, because I don't think that's super apparent if you play Gamma's story, that that's what happened. You just kind of find Froggy.
Yeah, I don't think you even see Big in Gamma's story.
It's funny having extra context like that, which I skipped over the bit where there's also another overlap between, like, Tails, where Tails, like, comes back from the past and has Froggy. Right, that's right, because obviously you find Froggy in Tails' story, but then Big is actually running in there. It's funny how Big just randomly shows up in other characters' stories, and it's just because he's running around chasing Froggy. It's great. And I just realized this is the reason that Big shows up in random spots in Sonic Adventure 2, is because we just don't get to play Big's story in Sonic Adventure 2. Oh my gosh, somebody mod that in! I want to see Big's story in Sonic Adventure 2 without the fishing, obviously. Just the wacky hijinks.
Well, Big already has a multiplayer model, because in the Dreamcast version, Big is an alternate skin for Eggman in that game, so you just have to put him in Eggman stages and make Froggy the goal.
Somebody make that. That's too perfect. But Hot Shelter has a lot of really interesting extra stuff. You can swim through the underwater sort of corridors after they've been flooded and find a plug in the ground. And it's a neat little mini puzzle because you see the plug and you're like, I don't know, what am I supposed to do with that? And then you realize, oh, wait a minute. And you cast your fishing line on the plug and hook it and then pull it up. It's great. I love that. And then the water rises even higher to reveal even more stuff you can explore. However, if you try to fish from the water levels at the highest level, I don't think you can catch Froggy. I legitimately don't think it's possible. I tried it several times. It seems bugged when it's at the highest level. I don't know why. It's very strange. But,
all right, then don't do that, players, or just maybe just skip this story if you play this game.
Perhaps.
See, that's the thing, is that if they're gonna move Froggy to be so close to you from the start in any stages, they really should have made Big just able to grab him with his hands.
Well, then it would have been ridiculously short, but logically speaking... Well, okay, you know what? If you just put Froggy in those secret places, Ice Cap might have been annoying to navigate if you had to do it. But
they're willing to make Amy's story last only 3 stages. They can do the same for Big, which has 4, so...
I don't know. Maybe just make the fishing actually good? Just a thought.
I don't know. So after Hot Shelter... Big, yes, Big the fucking cat, is treated to his own personal Tikal flashback? It doesn't even tell us much, just that the Master Emerald is the controller, which doesn't even really matter to this game.
I think Tikal speaks like this in the other parts of the game too, but this is when I noticed just what complete nonsense Tikal is rambling on about. She says, quote, "The servers are the 7 Chaos Emeralds, unified by one that is the controller. The 7 Chaos, the controller itself. Could this be the Emerald that controls the 7 Chaos?" What is she saying? Can't she just say the Master Emerald controls the 7 Chaos Emeralds? Because that's what she means.
She's speaking the language of the gods.
Apparently so.
Maybe it's supposed to serve as a mysterious prelude to Big's one and only really cool boss fight.
Cool?
No.
It was one of the boss fights of all time.
Really?
Big has a quote-unquote boss fight. I don't know. I don't think it's considered a boss fight, but it's Chaos 6. Except hilariously, you don't actually fight him.
This is one of the best parts of Big's story for multiple reasons.
Best?
One, it's hilarious. Like, oh yes, Big the cat is gonna take on Chaos 6. No, he skipped Chaos, Chaos 2, Chaos 4. No. Big only deals with Chaos 6. You could probably take Perfect Chaos 2 for the record.
Big could bench Perfect Chaos.
Definitely. And second of all, because it's trivially easy, which is a mercy compared to all of Big's stages.
Okay, listen, this can be easy. It can take 5 seconds. It can also be the most frustrating mess you've ever played in your life. It really depends on the person.
Yeah.
For me, it was by far the easiest part of Big Story.
Yeah, I've never had a problem with this boss. I didn't know it could be finicky.
I've had it both be 5 seconds and also make me rage quit. You have to sort of aim for Froggy when the reticle is on him, but it doesn't always work. You just kind of have to flail around. I don't know, Bruce, did you get stuck on this at all?
I think the only part I really got stuck on with that was just getting in the right position to actually hit Chaos 6 when I cast out my fishing rod.
Okay. Well,
Other
either
than that,
way,
it was pretty simple.
even if it's hard, it's still not, like, satisfying. It's still extremely anticlimactic that you just get him and then you leave.
Well,
Oh,
that is
As you do.
yeah, a bit
hilarious.
disappointing.
What's
but,
Chaos going to do? Try to fight Big?
Oh,
yeah,
no
he
shot.
couldn't take him.
Chaos knows that's a losing battle.
We're finally doing proper power scaling. You know, Big is multiverse buster. So
Oh,
Of course,
absolutely.
100%.
Of course.
Big is probably the strongest character in all of media.
I can't think of anyone who's stronger.
oh, you guys forget Echo the Dolphin.
Echo the Dolphin's a different situation. Echo
Oh, is
the
Echo the Dolphin more
doesn't
of a-
have like physical power. Echo the Dolphin can just like create universes.
Yeah.
Okay, so he's more of a trickster god.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, and that makes sense, because the best moment in Big's playthrough comes right after the Chaos 6 fight.
Yes.
When, escaping the egg carrier, Big decides to fly the abandoned Tornado 2 off of the egg carrier, and it just works.
It sure is a good thing Tails can fly on his own.
It's also a good thing that apparently crashing that plane did not damage it enough to make it not work to get off of there.
I mean, to be
The
fair,
plane just wanted to go for Big. It knew the consequences of not working.
of
Well,
course.
see, I think Big is a god that isn't aware of their power. They're that archetype. Because they go up to the plane and they're like, I don't know if I can use this, but I guess I'll try. And then it works perfectly.
Big does not understand the fear he strikes into the hearts of both living and non-living things.
The melancholy of Haruhi Big Zumia. It's amazing. Like, see, this is the thing, is that this is a joke. You know, it is clearly meant to be funny, and I really like the idea of Big as a comedic character. I think that if he had... Okay, well, if John St. John gave a different performance, and if you did something other than fish, he would really work on me. I think he's hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
I love seeing Big,
Yeah.
and then I have to play Big. But like,
If Big's story was a visual novel, I think I'd enjoy it more.
give
Oh.
Big a visual novel.
Are you aware of Big's Big Fishing Adventure 3?
one of the best games ever made.
I wasn't aware it was a visual novel.
It is.
All right. Interesting.
Anyway.
I agree that definitely would have been better. I don't have as many gripes. I think the fishing is the worst thing in this game, but the rest of Big Story I enjoyed quite well, personally. I don't mind the tone. Like I said, I really appreciate all the extra bits they put in the stages. Because, you know, Big is just kind of like a casual guy that just walks around, you know, enjoying life. He's not out for grand adventures. And so it's cool. You kind of just get to play that a little bit in the stages if you choose to, which I guess fits because, you know, there's no reward except for, you know, just the intrinsic enjoyment. And so if you just ignore the fishing, which is a big ask, the story is not so bad, I think, because you're just playing as Big, living the life.
And that's totally exemplified by his theme, Living in Paradise, which we get in the credits here, which I think
I really enjoy his theme.
It's a freaking silly song, but I really like it. And it's hilarious because, you know, this is Ted Poley's first contribution to the Sonic franchise. And then in the next game, he gives us City Escape, which is a very different song.
Wow. I did not know that.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
So that is the story of Big the Cat. Closing thoughts, you guys?
Don't play it.
I gave my closing thoughts just then. If you take out the fishing, I like it. If you put in the fishing, it's the worst thing in this game. Don't do it.
Download a save file that has Big already completed.
Fair enough. That
Watch
is
Big's cutscenes, don't play the game.
More or less, yeah.
Understood. Sorry for cutting you off. That is where we're going to end for tonight. Thank you all so much for watching. If you have any questions, comments, or feedback or criticism, you can reach us at any of the places shown on screen. We love if you like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell, whatever YouTubers tell you to do. I don't have my outro on screen, so I'm stammering through it. It's all good.
How dare you?
Thank you all so much for watching. We will see you next week with a certain robot that is a better game. Thank you all so much for watching. Have a great night. We'll see you next week, and take care.